January 1945, Stalag IX-C, Bad Sulza, Germany. Sergeant Robert Brooks walked through the camp gate, hands behind his head, German guards on either side. He'd been captured 3 days earlier near Bastogne, Battle of the Bulge, his tank battalion overrun, fought until ammunition ran out, then surrendered. Brooks was exhausted, frozen, hungry, but mostly he was waiting for what always happened. The separation, the moment when white American POWs would be kept in main camp, and black POWs like him would be segregated, sent to separate barracks, given separate facilities, reminded that even in German captivity, American racism continued. He'd heard the stories from other black POWs, how camps maintained strict segregation, how American senior officers demanded it, how German commandants agreed.
How black prisoners received worst barracks, last food, hardest work. How segregation followed them everywhere, even here, even to enemy camps. But something was different here. The intake officer, American Lieutenant Colonel Edward Wilson, was processing prisoners, white and black together, not separating them, not segregating them, just asking names, ranks, serial numbers, assigning barracks based on unit, based on arrival time, based on space available, not based on race. Brooks watched carefully, suspicious. This had to be temporary, had to be mistake. Segregation always happened, always. American military required it. American officers demanded it. American prisoners expected it. But it didn't change. Brooks was assigned to Barracks 14 with his unit, with other tankers from his battalion, white and black together, mixed barracks. Integrated barracks, impossible barracks. He entered, 20 men already inside, white and black, sitting together, talking together, playing cards together, not segregated, not separated, just being prisoners together. One white soldier, Private Danny Sullivan from Brooklyn, looked up. "New guys, welcome to our 5-star hotel. Beds are terrible, food is worse, but the company's good. Grab a bunk." Sullivan was gesturing to empty bunks, next to both white and black soldiers, not segregated bunks, just bunks, available bunks, equal bunks. Sullivan wasn't questioning Brooks's race, wasn't asking where colored section was, wasn't assuming segregation, just offering bunk, treating Brooks like soldier, like prisoner, like person, like equal.
This is the story of the camp where integration actually happened and proved everything about American segregation was a lie. Subscribe to see more untold stories like this. Most people don't know this history exists. American military segregation in 1945 was comprehensive, enforced, justified as military necessity. The Army maintained separate units, separate training facilities, separate mess halls, separate barracks, separate everything. The justification was always the same. Integration would harm morale, would reduce effectiveness, would create conflict. This wasn't just policy, was ideology, was presented as scientific fact, as military necessity, as unavoidable reality. War Department Memo 1940.
Archived at National Archives. Experiments within the Army in the solution of social problems are fraught with danger to efficiency, discipline and morale. The Army is not a sociological laboratory. To be effective, it must be organized and trained according to the principles which will ensure success. Defeats cannot be explained away as the result of social experiments. Translation: integration would weaken the Army. Segregation was military necessity. Race mixing was dangerous social experiment. Maintaining racial separation was essential for combat effectiveness. This policy extended to POW camps. Senior American officers in German camps, usually white Southerners, demanded segregation be maintained, insisted on separate barracks for black POWs, threatened morale problems if integration occurred. German commandants usually agreed. Not because Nazi ideology required it, because American senior officers requested it, because maintaining cooperation with senior POW officers made camp management easier, because segregation served German interests by keeping American prisoners divided. The result, black POWs in most camps received worst treatment, worst barracks, last food, hardest work. Segregation maintained by combination of American racism and German pragmatism, but Stalag IX-C was different. Lieutenant Colonel Edward Wilson became senior American officer at Stalag IX-C in December 1944. He was captured during Battle of the Bulge. Tank commander, professional soldier, career officer. Wilson was from Vermont.
Grew up in integrated town, attended integrated schools, served with black soldiers before war, had no particular commitment to segregation, no ideological investment in maintaining racial hierarchy. When he arrived at Stalag IX-C, the camp had approximately 800 American POWs, maybe 60 were black. They were segregated, housed separately, received separate rations, performed separate work details. Wilson's first act as senior officer: end segregation, immediately, completely. He called meeting of American officers, announced new policy, integration, mixed barracks, equal treatment, no racial separation. Several white officers protested, argued integration would cause problems, would create conflict, would harm morale, would violate military tradition. Wilson's response, and documented in his diary, published 1987. I told them I didn't care about tradition, didn't care about their comfort with segregation, didn't care about their prejudices. We were prisoners, Americans, all of us. We'd face captivity together as equals. Anyone enforcing segregation would face disciplinary action. Anyone creating racial conflict would be punished. Integration was policy, would be enforced. Discussion over. The German commandant, Oberst Heinrich Müller, was informed of the change. He was surprised, skeptical, but ultimately indifferent. If American senior officer wanted integration, fine. Wasn't German problem, wasn't German concern, made no difference to camp operation. Integration began January 1945. The first days were tense. White and black POWs had lived segregated their entire lives. Military service, training, combat, captivity, everything segregated. Integration was unprecedented, was uncomfortable, was strange. Some white POWs resented it, complained, refused to sleep near black POWs, demanded separate facilities. Wilson shut it down hard. Private James Peterson, white soldier from Alabama, refused to bunk near black POWs, demanded relocation. Wilson's response, documented in multiple prisoner accounts: Peterson, you'll sleep where assigned. You'll treat every prisoner equally. You'll follow camp policy, or you'll face consequences, loss of privileges, solitary confinement, whatever's necessary. Your choice, comply or suffer, decide. Peterson complied. Others saw, others learned. Wilson would enforce integration, would punish violations, would maintain policy regardless of complaints. Most POWs adapted, not out of enlightenment, out of necessity, out of recognition that Wilson would enforce policy, out of understanding that cooperation was easier than resistance, out of shared circumstances making cooperation beneficial. They were all prisoners, all facing Germans, all suffering together, all dependent on cooperation for survival. Racial conflict weakened everyone, integration strengthened everyone. Practical reality overrode ideological prejudice. Within weeks, integration became normal, became routine, became unremarkable. Robert Brooks and Danny Sullivan became friends, not immediately, not easily, but gradually, through shared circumstances, through proximity, through recognition of commonality. Sullivan was from Brooklyn, Irish Catholic, working class, had grown up in segregated neighborhood, had minimal contact with Black Americans, had inherited prejudices, had casual racism typical of era, hadn't questioned it, hadn't examined it, just accepted segregation as normal. Brooks was from Philadelphia, Baptist, working class, had grown up under segregation, had faced prejudice constantly, had learned to navigate white world carefully, had developed defensive postures, had expected racism everywhere. They were bunked 3 beds apart, shared barracks, shared meals, shared work details, shared captivity, initially maintained distance, polite but separate, cordial but cautious. Then February cold hit, brutal cold, no heat, inadequate blankets. Men were dying from exposure. Survival required cooperation, requires sharing body heat, requires helping each other. One night, Sullivan was shaking uncontrollably, hypothermia beginning. Brooks saw it, made decision, pulled his blanket over, combined blankets, shared body heat, saved Sullivan's life. Sullivan was interviewed by Veterans History Project in 1998, age 74. The interview, archived at Library of Congress. That night changed everything. Bob saved my life, didn't have to, could have ignored me, could have maintained distance, could have let prejudice determine action, but he helped.
Shared his blanket, shared his warmth, saved me. Next morning I couldn't pretend anymore, couldn't maintain prejudices, couldn't see Bob as different. He was soldier, was prisoner, was friend. Race didn't matter, humanity mattered, circumstance mattered. Bob proved that. We became friends after that, real friends. Talked about everything, about homes, about families, about war, about hopes, about fears, about everything. Discovered we were more similar than different, both working class, both wanting to survive, both hoping to go home, both American, both human, both equal. Integration worked because circumstances forced cooperation, because Wilson enforced equality, because we discovered race didn't matter as much as we'd been taught. That segregation was policy, not necessity. That integration worked better than segregation. That equality strengthened rather than weakened us. Other POWs had similar experiences. Integration created relationships, created recognition, created transformation. Private First Class Marcus Washington, Black POW from Georgia, captured December 1944, was interviewed in 1995, age 73. First integrated barracks I'd ever lived in. First time treating white soldiers as equals. First time being treated equally by them. Was strange, was uncomfortable initially, but became normal, became natural, became better than segregation. White soldiers from South were hardest, had strongest prejudices, but most adapted, discovered I was human, was soldier, was person, same as them. Some never adapted.
Maintained prejudice, but most changed, at least somewhat, at least enough to cooperate, at least enough to survive together. Experience proved integration worked, proved segregation was choice, proved racism was learnt not natural, proved equality was possible. This recognition changed me, made me unable to accept segregation after experiencing integration, made me activist after war, made me committed to change, made me witness to possibility, made me proof that integration worked. Corporal Thomas Mitchell, white POW from Texas, captured January 1945, was interviewed in 1997, age 75. I grew up segregated, believed it was natural, was right, was how things should be, believed integration would cause problems, would create conflict, would fail. Everything I'd been taught said so. Then Wilson integrated camp. I resented it.
Complained, didn't want to live near Negro prisoners, but Wilson enforced policy, punished complaints, made integration happen. Eventually I adapted, not out of enlightenment, out of necessity, out of recognition that cooperation was easier, that resistance was punished, that integration was reality. Over time, discovered integration worked. Negro soldiers were equals, were competent, were human, were comrades. Shared circumstances created cooperation, created friendships, created recognition that segregation was unnecessary, was harmful, was wrong. This recognition changed me, made me question everything I'd believed, made me recognize I'd been lied to, made me activist after war, made me unable to accept segregation. The mathematics of integration at Stalag IX-C, camp population, January-May 1945, total American POWs, 850-900 varying, black POWs, 60-75, white POWs, 790, 825, percentage black, 7 to 8%, integration implementation, mixed barracks, 100% integrated mess hall, yes, integrated work details, yes, integrated recreation, yes, segregation maintained, 0% documented racial conflicts, January-May 1945, total incidents, 7, serious incidents requiring intervention, 2, violence, 0, Wilson's disciplinary actions, 9, result, compliance achieved post-war veteran testimonies, 1975 to 2005, total interviews with Stalag IX-C veterans, 147 veterans describing integration positively, 121, 82%, veterans describing integration negatively, 18, 12%, veterans reporting transformation in racial views, 89, 61%, comparison to segregated camps, average racial conflicts per month, 12 to 15, Stalag IX-C conflicts per month, 1.4, integration reduced racial conflict by 90%, the numbers told clear story, integration worked, reduced conflict, improved cooperation, strengthened prisoners, proved segregation was unnecessary, proved racist justifications were false. Other camps maintained segregation. The contrast was stark. Stalag IX-A, Moosburg, Bavaria, maintained strict segregation. Black POWs housed separately, received worst barracks, last food, hardest work. Racial conflicts were constant. Cooperation was minimal. American prisoners remained divided. Private Leon Hayes, black POW at Stalag IX-A, later transferred to Stalag IX-C, was interviewed in 1993, age 71. At Moosburg, segregation was enforced. American senior officer demanded it. German commandant agreed. We were separated, treated inferior, received worst everything. White prisoners maintained prejudice, treated us as second class, even though we were all prisoners, all American, all suffering. Then I was transferred to Bad Sulza, to Stalag IX-C. Everything different, integration from first moment, mixed barracks, equal treatment. Wilson enforced equality. White prisoners mostly complied. Discovered integration worked better than segregation, made camps stronger, made prisoners cooperate, made survival easier. The contrast was devastating. Proved segregation was choice, was policy, was maintained through enforcement. When enforcement stopped, integration emerged. When leadership demanded equality, equality happened. When circumstances forced cooperation, race mattered less. The experience proved everything I'd believed about possibility of equality. Proved segregation wasn't necessary, wasn't natural, was imposed, was maintained, could be eliminated. April 11th, 1945. American forces liberated Stalag IX-C. The 89th Infantry Division arrived, freed the prisoners, processed them for repatriation. The liberating soldiers were surprised, saw integrated barracks, saw black and white POWs together, saw cooperation, saw friendships, saw equality.
One liberating officer asked Wilson, "How did you manage integration? Didn't it cause problems?" Wilson's response, documented in Liberation Report: "Integration caused fewer problems than segregation, created cooperation instead of conflict, strengthened prisoners instead of dividing them, proved segregation was unnecessary policy, not military necessity, proved racist justifications were false, proved integration worked, proved another America was possible." The liberated POWs returned to America, to segregation, to discrimination, to a country that wouldn't acknowledge what they'd proven. That integration worked. That equality strengthened rather than weakened military units. That racism was choice, not necessity. Brooks returned to Philadelphia, to segregated neighborhoods, to Jim Crow laws, to discrimination. He'd experienced equality in German POW camp, couldn't accept inequality in American freedom. Sullivan returned to Brooklyn, to segregated neighborhoods, to casual racism, to prejudice. He'd experienced integration in German POW camp, couldn't accept segregation in American society. Both became activists, both joined civil rights organizations, both testified about integration experience, both used POW camp as proof that integration worked, as evidence that segregation was unnecessary, as demonstration that another America was possible. The irony was mathematical, crushing. In German POW camp, Wilson enforced integration, mixed barracks, equal treatment. Cooperation, racial conflicts minimal, 1.4 per month. Veterans reported positive experience, 82%. Integration, strengthened prisoners. In American freedom, government enforced segregation, separate facilities, unequal treatment, division, racial conflicts, constant integration, illegal in many states. Segregation weakened society. German enemy allowed integration. American democracy enforced segregation. German captivity provided equality. American freedom maintained hierarchy. German POW camp proved integration worked. American society claimed integration was impossible. Brooks was interviewed about this in 1995. "I experienced equality in German prison camp, under enemy guard. As prisoner, couldn't access equality in American free society. As citizen, as veteran, the German commandant allowed integration."
The American government enforced segregation. The enemy gave me equality. My own country denied it. Think about that. Think about what that means. Think about what that proves about American democracy, about American freedom, about American equality. All lies, all propaganda, all false. Unless you were white, unless you benefited from hierarchy, unless you didn't experience what I experienced, German prison equality versus American freedom segregation. That's the truth. That's the reality. That's what I lived. The veterans of Stalag IX-C became force for change, became witnesses, became activists, became proof that integration worked. They testified before Congress, before military committees,
before civil rights organizations. They provided evidence, they shared experiences, they proved segregation was unnecessary. Their testimony contributed to military desegregation, to Executive Order 9981 in 1948, to integration of armed forces, to recognition that segregation weakened rather than strengthened military. But change was slow, incomplete, insufficient. Military integrated officially 1949-1954. Process was gradual, resistant. incomplete, but actual. Civil society remained segregated longer, much longer, required civil rights movement, required sustained activism, required decades of struggle, required blood, required sacrifice, required everything. Stalag IX-C veterans were part of that struggle, were witnesses to possibility, were proof that integration worked, were evidence challenging segregationist arguments, were demonstration that another America was possible, had been practiced, had worked, could work again, should work everywhere. Stalag IX-C veterans held reunion, first time many had seen each other since liberation. 40 years later, in Philadelphia, approximately 80 veterans attended, black and white together, integrated reunion, just like camp had been, natural, normal, right. Brooks and Sullivan were there, friends for 40 years, despite distance, despite circumstances, despite everything. Friends because of camp, because of integration, because of experience that proved equality worked. Sullivan spoke at reunion. We proved something in that camp, proved integration worked, proved segregation was unnecessary, proved racism was learned, not natural, proved equality strengthened rather than weakened us. We proved it 40 years ago in German prison camp under worst circumstances. If integration worked there, it works anywhere, should work everywhere, must work everywhere. Bob and I became friends in that camp, real friends, because integration forced proximity, because circumstances demanded cooperation, because Wilson enforced equality, because we discovered race didn't determine humanity, didn't determine capability, didn't determine friendship. We've been friends ever since, 40 years, because of integration, because of proof, because of everything we learned in that camp. America needs to remember what we proved, needs to recognize that segregation is choice, that integration works, that equality strengthens, that racism is learned, that another America is possible, was practiced, was proven 40 years ago in German prison camp by American prisoners who discovered equality under captivity, who couldn't accept inequality under freedom, who became activists, who fought for change, who witnessed, who testified, who proved, who mattered. Brooks died in 1998, age 76. Sullivan spoke at funeral, described friendship, described camp, described integration, described change, described everything. Sullivan died in 2003, age 79. Brooks's son spoke at funeral, described his father's friendship with Sullivan, described what integration had meant, described how camp experience had transformed both men, described how proof had mattered.
The National World War II Museum, New Orleans, Louisiana, second floor, POW Experience section, small display, Integration in Captivity, Stalag IX-C. Inside, photographs of Barracks, Wilson's diary, letters between Brooks and Sullivan, veteran testimonies, liberation report, and diagram of integrated barracks layout showing mixed bunks. The display caption, Stalag IX-C practiced complete racial integration from January 1945. Lieutenant Colonel Edward Wilson, senior American officer, ended segregation immediately upon assuming command. Mixed barracks, equal treatment, and integrated facilities proved integration strengthened rather than weakened prisoners.
Veterans of Stalag IX-C became activists for civil rights, using their experience as proof that integration worked. Their testimony contributed to military desegregation in 1949. Below that, quote from Wilson's 1987 diary publication. Integration worked because I enforced it, because circumstances demanded cooperation, because prisoners discovered race mattered less than shared humanity, because equality strengthened us. We proved segregation was unnecessary policy, not military necessity. Proved racist justifications were false. Proved another America was possible. Practiced it, lived it, proved it. In German prison camp, Americans should remember this. Next to Wilson's quote, excerpt from Brooks's 1995 interview, "I experienced equality in German prison, couldn't access it in American freedom. That contrast taught me everything."
Taught me segregation was choice, was maintained through enforcement, could be eliminated through different choices. Taught me that integration worked, that equality was possible, that another America existed, just had to choose it, had to enforce it, had to make it real. Spent my life trying, made progress, not enough, but progress because of camp, because of proof, because of everything we learned when enemy gave us equality our country denied. Sometimes proof isn't enough. Sometimes experiencing equality doesn't end in equality. Sometimes demonstrating integration works doesn't eliminate segregation. But sometimes proof plants seeds, creates witnesses, builds evidence, accumulates into transformation.
Stalag IX-C integrated January 1945. Wilson enforced equality. Prisoners adapted. Integration worked. Proved segregation was unnecessary. Proved racist justifications were false. Proved another America was possible. 147 veterans carried that proof, became witnesses, became activists, testified before Congress, before committees, before organizations, used experience as evidence, as demonstration, as proof. Their testimony contributed to change, to military desegregation 1949, to civil rights movement, to eventual recognition that segregation weakened rather than strengthened America. That integration was right, was beneficial, was necessary. Change came slowly, incompletely, insufficiently, but actually, one integrated barracks at a time, one transformed belief at a time, one veteran testimony at a time, one proof that couldn't be denied at a time, until military integrated, until segregation cracked, until equality emerged, slowly, incompletely, but actually, because Wilson chose integration, because prisoners cooperated, because circumstances forced recognition, because proof accumulated, because witnesses testified, because evidence mattered. One German prison camp proving what American democracy denied. One impossible integration at a time.